Welcome everyone to this episode of Blue Hour podcast, where we explore the minds and the worlds of visionary artists and creators. Today we have Mykalle, who is a very talented singer, composer, writer. She does also theater, I think, and I got the chance to see her show at the Casa del Popolo last week, which was transcendental, if I can say. And multidisciplinary. She has the idea I had of visionary artists really was well represented in what I got to experience at your show last time. It felt like something was coming through you in your voice, in your, I don't know, the frequency of your voice, but also the kind of, I don't know how it's called, when you play with your anyways, the style of your singing, actually. So thanks for accepting this invitation and receiving me in your home.
It's a pleasure.
Maybe you want to start by giving us your background and how you may it be like what you studied, or even like spiritually, what got you into this spiritual world that I experienced last week.
It's a vast question.
It is.
I have a background in theater, in music, poetry, oral poetry, and classical singing. I played many instruments when I was in high school, and I've always composed songs, and I always been drawn by the ritualistic aspects of theater. In my early 20s, I studied in Denmark for a couple of weeks, where I've been meeting traditional theatrical traditions of presence among the worlds, Balinese theater, for example.
Oh yeah, that's so powerful.
Yeah, and music. But because I come from a very songwriting background, from French Québécois, and really oriented around la chanson, the chanson française, the songwriting, it took me a long time, I guess, to start my own path, where I can feel free to experiment and be totally to put the dimension I want to live in art. So it began with multidisciplinary shows after my studies in theater as an actress. So I started, I can say, kind of a quest around the idea of beauty, of the sublime, states of bliss, and I've been that was gathered by voice.
It's interesting because that's what I was seeing in your 12th house, Venus in Pisces, Venus and Libra in the house of Pisces.
Wow.
That is the sublime and the transcendental beauty almost. It feels like you were describing exactly that.
Exactly. Well, it
makes total sense, yeah.
So that was the start in 2013. And I was starting to do some music for the theater, and to compose electronic music. And because I studied theater, I was really into what actions can achieve the voice, and what function can have the voice.
Okay.
The voice is not only a messenger for the text or for the meaning, but is also in its form able to communicate other dimension and to act. So
it's interesting that I've been so fascinated with that in the past few years too.
Oh yeah.
Like how, words, but then it's what is a word? It's many letters, and what is letters? It's many symbols, and how these the addition of all these little symbols compose an idea that will once be spoken evoke an image in the mind or an emotion, and then the next level is I think what you do, you're taking this and putting emotion in it and then giving it out, and it has an effect in people's psyches where they will feel something, and it is pretty powerful, and the work I have been witnessing live, and can you continue? I want to learn more about that.
So I studied by myself traditional singing from many traditions from some part of the world. It was not exhaustive, but the traditions where I was really drawn to naturally, like Bulgarian singing, polyphonic singing from Corsica, or even Nordic, but mostly sacred singing came to me, polyphonic sacred singing from Orthodox churches, or even in the Christianity tradition. And because it's a background, cultural background, it was, I think, natural for me to listen to Gregorian chants. And yes, so I really immersed myself at that time into what I felt into this music, and I tried to sing it. I mean, to embody those states. And to
so at first it was you started more on a personal level, like alone. You were just trying to I guess feel into these different traditional singing and see how it would make you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
And did something? Do you have a story of something that happened, like in a moment where you were practicing those songs, and some insight or like a sort of connection that opened up? Because as I saw in your first house of Scorpio is this connection with it's like there's a direct connection between your identity and the underworld, all the secrets that happen there. So singing, it feels like it would do that to you. Maybe even like open up something that would manifest in your dreams that same night you were singing, or something like that.
It happens many times. It happened many times. I felt so good after concerts at that time. And for example, my first show, Gloria, it's a concert of those kinds of songs. I did a kind of a remix of sacred songs. And traditional songs, and it was in a 360-degree structure, in a circle. People were inside, and there were video. I was in the middle, and there was a video around us because I was inside with the people. So it was like a fantasy in my head at first, and then it became really spiritual, and singing inside this circle became really something. I was like, oh my God, I've channeled something, and it was I accessed at that time at many new dimensions.
You know, like that card that was on top of the first card, I was thinking it's cooperation or collaboration. It feels like that might be it, because it's your collaboration with the audience, but more than that, it's how you communicate your messages. Like it feels like that's your strength and something you've explored, because I think that's very important. Like we should, because often I've heard you, and even in another interview, often it's like someone on stage that gives a message to someone that's in the dark. You know, they're like, the audience is at dark, you're on the spotlight. And I would be curious to see what people retain from that type of experience versus when the show is like you are the show, and this is kind of an immersive experience, and how whatever message you could be communicated from stage to crowd, or this circular kind of ritualistic setting, how much more people would retain, not intellectually, but like emotion, how they would like feel whatever transformation you're trying to make them go through this event. I'm pretty sure it would be much more powerful just because of the symbolic circle and everything.
That's the kind of response I received at that time,
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I kind of learned in the making of the art and the making of the singing, the potential of all of this, immersive settings, that kind of music, and even my education as an actress. Still, I was able to be there without being we say in French, in representation, like without being on show, like showing things. No,
you were just being yourself.
I was just being there, just singing for people, and in the singing also, the singing became kind of a spiritual master, because singing is all about lâcher prise.
Letting go.
Letting go, and it's all about serenity and alignment, and it's really psychological, very much more than we can think.
Well, I'm thinking just of like mantra chanting.
Yeah.
Like only recently I've started to understand how to chant mantras. It's not just saying the words, but it's like the perfect balance of resistance in your throat and like letting go that creates the perfect tone that will actually heal your body, right?
Yeah.
So
there's a science about the sound.
You know what I heard recently, like because I was in Bali and I was starting to study the temples, the oldest Indian temples. The architecture of the temples, you know, they would dedicate a temple to a god, and back in the days this science was very developed, where they would have the perfect angles in the temple, so that when you would go there and emit a certain frequency, like a mantra, to that god, it would resonate perfectly to bounce in the perfect angles on your body to heal what this the archetype of that god represented.
Wow.
And this was like the hospitals. You want to heal something, you go to that temple and you chant this mantra. It's a science that is coming back. I think maybe perhaps through your own work, like this science.
I started to study by myself a little bit yoga, sound yoga, and it's kind of the same approach. That when you breathe or you do sounds, like some type of humming or some type of syllabus.
Yeah, like syllables.
Syllables, in certain part of your of your body, you activate some healing. So there's kind of a world about sound that we're completely disconnected.
Have you heard of like a Pythagorean healing magic?
No.
Well, how Pythagorean, like he's known for mathematics, but the way he got to his insights is like he would basically overlap mathematics and angles and sacred geometry, and so there is a direct relationship between like the scale of music and the different angles of different like the square is 360 degrees and equals this letter, which equals this note. And so he developed like schools of healing through frequency, which people don't necessarily know in the mainstream, but like that was his bigger thing. And then his theorems and all the rest became of a side product of these discoveries.
Oh wow!
But like he would study more of the qualities of numbers and shapes, more than what we are using this rational world of quantities. Like how many is it? It's more, what does it evoke, or like what is oneness, what is two-ness, and it was all connected with shapes and healing. And this science,
fascinating.
that's what I like, is like to observe, is how like creators like you just kind of naturally bring back this wisdom just by being yourself, right? You just allow it to come through you into your pieces. And that's very inspiring to hear.
I have to admit, I just followed my intuition completely with that first piece, and it leads me to this path. So but it all started there.
But it seems like this is also the way like you would channel stuff, but you also have a academic background where you like to study them more rationally afterwards.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a good balance of it, because like even to reach people, your audience, people are sometimes skeptic of just intuitive and like magic and all these things. But if we bring also the rational to explain and to show them the science behind it, then people are, oh yeah, I can open myself up to receive it now.
Exactly.
So
yeah, it's more universal that way, because you can reach more people, more types of people. But yes, it's true. It's but sometimes I have to go back to intuition and
that's your superpower.
Yeah. Sometimes we forget this, so depending. But yeah, I try to connect more, because that's where it's obvious to say that, but that's where the magic happened.
Yeah. And do you have other shows or something you're working on that is connected also with immersing the audience in your magic, in your
well, the second show was also immersive. It's called Myth, and it was a polyphonic woman choir about myth about time, and all the aspects of myth are their function are connected to the primordial times.
Okay.
So where like all the creation the creation of the world happens. I don't know if you know Mircea Eliade. He's a kind of anthropologist, writer, very big figure in the studies of religion.
Okay.
And he worked on this on the myth and rituals, and this aspect that we reconnect to primordial times through rituals and myth, and when we are in that like alternative space and time, there is no time at all. You're meeting eternity. When you're in the time of myth, you're in the time of ritual. So that's kind of what I wanted to reach.
Yeah, it feels like we're so in our day and age, we're so focused on our consciousness. So like in the metaphor of like the sun, we are in a solar cycle. So what we see is what we get, and the opposite of that is the moon, and it's the subconscious realm, which is the timeless realm also.
Yeah.
And where all these myths exist forever, sometimes buried from past life or whatever. And then with the ritual, you're just awakening this dormant part of the psyche that is, it is already there, but you might encounter it once in your life in a dream and you forget about it. But you're like consciously digging in it and making people like dig it out of their subconscious, so they can partake on something that is seemingly bigger than their egos. It becomes of a collective experience.
Exactly.
And I feel like that has so much power and potential for so many things. I'm guessing through the conception of these shows, you must have a kind of an intention behind them. Like, can you talk about that? Not necessarily like general, but you can go from different shows, whatever the intentions that you wanted people to experience.
It was not really direct.
Yeah, it was not preconceived in this way.
It was really unconscious. I know I wanted to connect with people with their own spirituality. And like this second show, it was really like to inspire, to awake to what has been found in the mysteries and the sacred and the spirituality since the dawn of humanity, how religion was created and how this symbolic thinking leads to creation, inventing things, to innovation also, to just, I'm gonna, I decide this and this happens, and it kind of leads to magic,
So you wanted to remind people that this exists. Especially with people being so busy with their daily lives, they don't have time to think about those more.
I think I want to empower people. That they have creative skills. They have creativity. They can invent their life anytime, depending on their needs or will, or desires. Like gods, what we admire from gods is their capacity to invent worlds.
Yeah.
And I think we do have the same capacities. It's an analogy, but it's...
Well, yeah, I feel like it's an analogy, and when we contrast it to what we're experiencing in this reality, but I feel like in different eras of humanity, this was more like not an analogy. Like I feel like in some eras, time is a bit slower, so manifesting takes more time. So therefore, we think we don't have this faculty of creation, like a god we imagine in a movie, the magic wand, and then it appears. But in reality, that's what happens. It's just because of the density of our reality, it takes time to move all the pieces so that the thing appears. And in ancient eras, this spirituality was put in the foreground, and then this materiality, and therefore this would be instant, like in a dream. Like if you're lucid dream, there is no time, so you can just think of something and it appears. Psychedelic experiences, there's no time. You think of something or you feel something, it manifests instantly. So I think it is not just an analogy, it is like a reality that we are disconnected from, and that is so important to empower people to awaken this, especially like in the times we're living where, creativity does empower you, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't like this reality, well, I'm gonna change it. Or if you can't change it,
my perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a very noble one.
And this, it demands creativity also to change your perspective. It's not just create things or objects or whatever reality. It's also, I'm able to move. Creation is also movement. So it's really and it's one of the main principles in nature. Things never stay, stability is not
true.
It's not permanent. So the thing is always to be in movement. So I think that's what I unconsciously I want to communicate.
Yeah, but the more you evolve throughout your career, and I feel like from our discussion earlier, you also we can call it a career, but it's your life. I feel like your career is involved. Sometimes people are like, this is me and this is my career. And often the artists and creators is like, no, the art and the career is like you, and you evolve and learn through your experiences you create in your career.
Exactly. And my spiritual path is also connected to that.
Yeah. That for me is the magic of creation, is to connect all spheres of life. They're not disconnected. And unfortunately, I've observed that so many artists that are disconnected from their art, it's like and I'm wondering, but perhaps it comes from the ego, you know, because you feel like you've created something external to you, because this is me, this is the creation, like whether it's a painting, a canvas, this is the canvas, this is my body, me, canvas. But in reality, like, the canvas is just the recipient of your mentality that's projected onto the symbols you paint, right? So it's in the same way, all the unconscious decision you took, like putting a circle, having the people in the circle, being in the center. If you look at the symbol, the astrological symbol of the sun, it's a circle with a dot in the center. There is a lot of things we unconsciously don't choose, but if we're aligned, you will choose the right symbolism for your work.
That's crazy.
and the message will kind of come through organically if you trust.
Yeah, if you trust.
So like people like me that are very, it's part of my past to study all those symbols and all those things, but it's not necessary. No. Like, just be you and it'll naturally flow. Like a cell in the body doesn't need to be told what to do, you know.
It knows.
It knows.
Yeah.
But it's still important to then study the environment in which the cell is to make sure there is no harmful things, you know, you create disease.
But still there is doubt, there is fear, all of this exists also.
Yeah.
And we have to be careful also that it can be very, very capitalist to say also that we're responsible of our perspective. And I said, you know, creation, it can be also interpreted as really, you know, individualistic, but it's beyond that. I think it's just the way we have to deal with life, I think, or that.
But you're saying that people that could hear that could take it the wrong way?
Yeah, like an how can I say, an obligation? No, like you have to even in the big challenges, you have to create your own disposition to be better, to be in, you know, but sometimes you don't have power, but you you have also to let it go, to know how to let it go also, to not control everything. That's what I want to say. Yeah,
and it is also that's why I'm fascinated right now with studying Vedic astrology, because it shows you all the tendencies of the mind, like, and its relationship. Like, one is Saturn. Like, Saturn is the relationship you have to suffering and pain. Like, the thing is, we kind of, pain for us is like the last thing you want, you know, it's the most negative thing, but in reality it's our biggest teacher, and it's part of everyone's life. Like, our psyche is designed this way. It is a tool we have, the Saturnian tool, which helps us uncover what's not working and correct it. But our relationship to pain is to avoid it and not to like learn to work through it. And there's a big nuance, and it does such a big difference to shift your perspective in that way, you know? Like,
that's true.
Like, challenges can be so good.
Yeah.
Well, you must know it helps you transform yourself and not just be satisfied with what you have, and then you die, and then what else? You know?
It keeps me in a constant, you know, in journey, learning, and kind of into an introspection of. Maybe
it's a bit personal. Don't have to say it, but like, what is what is your big challenge? What is something that you face, something that brings adversity in your life?
I should say, many things. This year has been really challenging. What can I say? Well, I think these days it's about control, leadership and control. How to be confident. About myself, about my choices, the kind of art I want to do. Just stay focused on that and not be distracted. I'm very distractive person.
Like with the details, you mean? Like the different things you have to do that is not the main... Is that what you mean?
No, just to stay connected to my strength, artistic strength. Well, I do my art, I make my art, I'm okay, I don't... Every day I work into my art, but the bigger dimension, you know, the great alignment.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm not so focused. And yeah, and all the... You know, I do yoga, I do meditation, and I find myself sometimes really agitated. Can I say that?
Okay, like mental agitated, lots of thoughts and lots of worries.
Yeah,
and
very distracted, very, yeah, and not really, like I don't know what I feel. I'm not able to name my emotions. I'm kind of lost sometimes. And I have sometimes the feeling that I need to be very aggressive about something, like to really...
assertive.
Yeah, put myself forward. I have to bring this. And sometimes, no, this means to be more... yeah, I need to be more passive, and sometimes I don't know how to manage that.
That's interesting.
The just do it, let it go, let it be. Yeah. This I'm always, I don't know where exactly sometimes I...
That's so interesting, because it feels like it relates to what we just, the tarot we just did, no?
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, it is, this push and pull is so interesting.
Yeah.
Like, it is necessary for everyone, you know, because the thing is, if you're always in action mode, do, but you don't reflect on what you're living internally, like at some point you're gonna be successful, but you just won't be happy in your success, because all the emotions will be like from the past will not have been felt. They'll still be there, but adding up and will become just this complex emotional mess inside. And then like and then if you're on the opposite, just always meditating and not taking action, you're gonna be fine emotionally. But if you have a bigger purpose, which it feels like you do, like to somehow be of service to humanity in some ways, well, if you're just alone and you're dealing with your emotion all the time, you're not doing anything for anyone.
Exactly.
It's that balance.
Yeah.
And yeah, that push and pull is important. Like, when do you meditate, you know? When do you, what's your, in a 7-day week, do you meditate 3 days and you take action 3 days? Like, it's not that no. Easy, you know? No. But sometimes I feel like, in my own personal path, like meditation, like consistently, just like as a norm, like every day, you just do that. That's part of your routine, no matter what happens. It just helps bring this neutrality to your awareness, so that you can live your emotions while taking action, you know? Like, it's just like this tool we all have. You just sharpen it every time you meditate, and after a few years of that, like, you can, in a sense, it's becoming like aware of what's going on in your mind and your body as you're taking action. You know, that's an art. Like, it's so subtle sometimes. Like someone says something that has nothing to do with something negative, but all of a sudden you feel like tense and like you don't know why. But ends out, you move on, but you keep this energy within you. But like, if you're in the center, well, then you receive it and you acknowledge it. Oh, I'm feeling this. What is it? And then you can write it down if you don't have time to address it. But if you can, then you'll be like, oh, yeah, I remember this situation, like a woman screamed at me when I was younger, and this tone that the person used remind me of that, and I had never dealt with it, and now I'm feeling this again. You know, so this kind of push and pull can be in real time also. But yeah, this balance is, I feel like something we all have to kind of work with our own schedules to to find the time to meditate, the time to take action, and eventually they kind of sync up?
Yeah, it's important to be regular on that.
Yeah, what is your, I'm just curious, like your meditation, since there is so many different practices of meditation, what's the one that works for you?
Well, in singing, mantra, I've been having great experiences doing, well, with words, but also with voice, with many layers of voice. Otherwise, it's simply mindfulness. I just do one. Personally, mindfulness, yeah. Because
I saw, like in your show, it felt like what you just described, you know, many layers of voice and of singing. So is like your product also your meditation? So like what you show on stage is what you do alone to bring yourself in this state, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe I meditate when I sing.
Yeah.
Finally. Yeah.
Because like perhaps like even your shows, it's like I see this like I usually do installation in my work too, and for me like when I show my art is like I create this space for people to come in. It's not just about the art; it's about the symbols and the art, the symmetry, and how people interact with it.
Of course, yes.
But somehow every time I have these art shows, like there is some astrological event going on. I don't know like the meaning behind it. I have not found it yet, but there is something that changes in who I am. Like I feels like some lesson I've been working on as I was painting the series and programming everything for the opening night. Once the opening night is done, it feels like, okay, I understand what all this ritual I've been putting together for people to experience what it means for me. It's like that time. So maybe for you too, is like the concert becomes like, okay,
yeah,
now that you've done it, I understand why it happened.
Yeah, it's a way sometimes to know.
And in this case, like your last like bigger show of where it was more ritualistic, what's something that remained with you after this performance?
Well, I felt a kind of a mission, kind of I'm like, okay, I can do that as a human being, and I think this is a gift. So I had to.
Okay.
Yeah, I felt like not a duty, but a meaning. Sometimes I strongly associate with my purpose.
And when was that? That last show?
Well, it started in 2015, and since then.
Okay, so what you're saying is not a specific show; it's like in general.
General, yeah.
But what about the last one?
So the last one. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time it's
like a feeling like whatever people leave with, that's your show.
Yeah.
This inspiration or this connection with their own spirituality. That this gift is given to you to be a vessel to help people connect with it.
Yeah.
So it just
Simply
reinforces it after your shows. Okay.
And I navigate in it. Every time it's an adventure. I don't know. I design it a different way in concert or shows. Sometimes it has a narrative. When I talk to you about the multidisciplinary shows, I have 3 of them, so I worked a lot on the narrative, but even with a concert, I think I reached that also. Maybe it's a more direct way of communicate with people. I don't know, I'm asking. I had the impression, like the last concert you saw, I had the impression that it worked again. So I don't know, I'm really confident that I'm doing the best I can do.
It would be interesting, like in retrospect, It wouldn't have any other purpose than more like to ground it, or like, I'm just always curious about these things, like the common thread, and to see the symbolism that unconsciously or consciously you put together, and like to see like almost like the mythology of every concept. I don't know, like I'm sure there is something that's coming through you that is all these pieces of puzzle that come together and create something specific. I know in your decisions in your shows. I don't know.
Well, sometimes it's more complex. Yeah, I think so. There's this spiritual dimension, but there's also this really, someone says that earlier, a performance I did this fall, that it was bienveillant. I don't know how to say that in English.
Like goodwilling, like it's
goodwill, yeah.
Good vibes.
Good vibes. I like to share good vibes.
Yeah. No, it felt, I can say it, it really felt uplifting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And caring in a way.
Yeah, which is your
healing.
Your dharma, is Cancer.
Yeah.
Healing and taking care.
That's it. And I want to go more into that. So not just only offer art or share art, but also to have a positive influence on the mind, the soul, and the body. To heal, to help, to elevate, to sometimes push forward, sometimes comfort. It can be depending on what people need at that time.
Yeah, I do remember just like the more vocal part of your show, because there's a lot of electronic sounds, and I guess you sometimes do also some you record parts of your voice and but like when it was your pure voice, for me that's what like it was so powerful. Like it did feel like it was tapping into my spiritual self. Like it was awakening the flame.
Oh yeah,
fire. Good. Yeah, the spirit, awakening the spirit. And I would be so curious, like to see your past lives also, because often these gifts are like inherited from something you've already worked with in the past. Because it's because you were born in Quebec, and it does feel like there's almost a Middle Eastern kind of I don't know. Well, you have many influences. You're singing, as you said earlier, but yeah.
Maybe it's not so far. I think I discovered in the making of my shows that this effect, but now I know it's like it's the only dimension I want to be in. It's like I think it's the most powerful message or gift, or I think for people that's all I think it's important to communicate. Like
because you use a lot of also, I heard, like prayers from the Bible, like scriptures, holy scriptures, and I've been studying that in the sense of like mantras. Most people are more familiar with it, but in the Bible, some hymns are like magically encoded. Like in the sense, I feel like when you achieve a certain level of consciousness, as some people and some characters in the Bible have, the tone of the words and the balance of different verses amongst the other ones, they just create a harmonic in the body structure and the energy body structure, which can be healing or evoke something that the person who created it was in when he was writing it. And so
that's what we said earlier with the sound, the tempo, the echoes in the voice, the resonance in the voice.
So it does feel like this is also a tool. Like I'm sure most people they would read this in their minds, but like vibrating it as you're doing in your singing in your songs, that's where like the magic kind of comes out of the words when it becomes a frequency that bounces on our bodies.
Yeah.
And so like it's so like it's so powerful, and I'm sure you just started. I'm sure there's so much like more worlds and mysteries that you can like delve in the future with that knowledge.
As you said, I mean, this vibration is sometimes the root of the world in so many spiritualities, like the breath, even the vibration of the water. Vibration is, in some traditions, spiritual tradition, is the basis, foundation of the world.
In Hebrew, that I have studied too, like the elements are in the words, like shin is like is the fire, the fire that's, and then the hey is the air. Yeah. So like it is encoded in the oldest languages, and English is just a derived version of that, but we have all the elements that we're just manifesting to our voice. So yeah, it is like I'm very excited to see what's coming next. Are you working on, like, I think you have your album that's coming also soon.
Yeah.
What can we expect on that album?
We can expect well, it's the show you saw is the songs.
Okay.
This album is kind of a retrospective also of like the past 10 years. The songs on the album are from different shows.
Okay.
And they are music composition I did that fits with this this kind of aesthetic universe. The next one is in the making too. So I composed it in Abbés in France.
I thought I saw that.
Yeah, I was in residency last spring, and what I start composing for the second album, and it's more, it's even more spiritual, but it goes, it's really intimate, and yeah, it's really the inner spirituality, and it's less. There are no Bulgarian songs or less and less influence from the Middle East.
Okay.
So it's really more Gregorian chants influence.
Do you have the title already? Like?
No, not yet.
Not yet. And do you know when it's gonna come out? When it's releasing?
No.
Because you have a single that just released.
I have 2 singles.
That just released?
Yeah, and the album is for January, so pretty soon.
Pretty soon.
And then I don't know the next one. So
Yeah.
the time I just live on that album, the first album, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And do you have shows coming up too that you wanna?
The launch of the album.
Which is in January.
February 2. February 2nd.
And where will it be?
Sala Rosa.
Oh, right next door where I
Next door, yeah.
Okay. And I like to end the podcast with the similar question. So, is there a question you wished I had asked you, or like also regarding what we talked about, this kind of transitionary period we're collectively going through? Something you wish to let people know, or like advice, or something that resonates with your heart that you would like to transmit to the audience that will watch this?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we talked about grief earlier, and I think in this era we must prepare for that. We must heal from grief. We must give space and time to those feelings of sadness, of
frustration and fear.
Mm-hmm. To like let them be felt.
Yeah, be felt. Yeah. And then we can move on. Or I think we have this, I feel a lot of suffering. We talked about this earlier, and I think it's a lot of resistance is into that suffering. Like people are afraid to lose things, privilege, habits, way of doing things. But the way of doing things will change.
Yeah.
And we have to prepare to be peaceful about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
to accept it. It's a new playground to invent, to create, to
And probably that's powerful because like probably grief, to create from an empowered place, you need to grieve the past.
Yeah.
You know? So that you're not like creating in this direction because in the past this direction hurt you, but like in reality it's there that you must go. So like to have a sharper aim. Grieving is probably the most important thing to do.
And also
acceptance.
And acceptance, of course. And last thing, to change the relation with others. I mean, we really need to open to different points of view, different way of seeing things, of being with others. Accept the difference. And really meet the other people.
And what do you have a concrete advice to do that, like that you can do daily in your life?
To listen, really listen, and stop talking.
That's wisdom.
Really listen.
In the emptiness, all the answers are there, right? It's like just need to create the void, or let it. It's always there, but just embrace.
Yeah.
And I guess
the fight.
it is connected also to being alone. Not fearing to be isolated and be alone for a while.
Yeah.
Where there's just the void, and that voices in your head that are telling you about your unconscious patterns. It's scary.
But it's the best teacher ever.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. It's good to end on this too. And thank you so much for taking the time of your day, if you're in the middle of the week, to do this podcast. And I think your work has so much value, and I think a lot of artists and creators will benefit from being inspired from your work, and how you naturally navigated to making rituals out of your performances, and all these things that leave the audience with something more than when they arrived. That it's not just entertainment, but it's transcending something. It's it's lighting this candle, this flame within, so that when you leave, even though you don't know what happened, you know that something has moved. I think that's a gift you give people in your shows and with your music and everything. So I'm happy that you finally people, like more and more people will get to know your work and be inspired by this very important thing you're doing. So thank you for sharing with me and for the audience, and for everyone at home, thank you, and I'll see you on the next one. The end.